So I just recorded this entire video, and I forgot to turn my recording or click record for my audio. So now this is the second, or probably not even the second time I'm doing this. Yeah, I'm doing this all over again. So maybe this will be a better take. I don't know. But hey, I'm Tyler Boyer, your host for this video, and I'm gonna show you how to get these lights from looking like this to this. So now that I realize I still don't have no intro, we're gonna go ahead and get straight into this video. We have a 3-point light setup that we have here, and what that means is we have 3 lights coming from 3 different directions that's controlling the look that we have in here. So where do I start with all this, Tyler? You know, where do I get this look and how do I get it? That's a very good question. That's why I'm making this video, right? I mean, I don't even know why I asked myself that for. That was kind of cringy. But anyway, first things first, we're gonna go ahead and shut these lights off in this room. They're already shut off, but yeah, you're gonna go ahead and shut your lights off to start things off, and you want that off. That's very important because you want to be able to control the light in the room, control the environment, and have full control over that. Once you have that shut off, then you're gonna be looking at the next thing, and that is kind of, you know what the look is that you're going for. So I'm going to show you specifically how to get a look like this, but I'm also going to show you how to just make your look a little more cinematic, a little bit better, and a little lively, and not as boring of a setup, because hey, who likes boring, right? Which speaking of that, I should have had an intro a long time ago, because beginning the video's been pretty boring. So probably should get on top of that. Yeah, we're gonna do that later. Now, I have a softbox here, I have a ring light, and I have a backlight. Those are the 3 things that I would suggest starting with if you can get anything. If you don't, or if you can't, or if you're trying to use stuff around the house, then I'll talk about that in a little bit. So I have I'm gonna cut these lights off so you can see a little bit better. I have a whatever this connects, there we go. So I have a fill light here, which I'm gonna shut that off too. Sorry, buttons everywhere. Okay, key light. The first thing that you want to do is figure out your key light. What is it that you want to use, or some type of source, whether it's a ring light, a little panel. Speaking of that, I actually use this. I use it as a fill light, not really key light, but I use this in my thumbnail. You see I was holding that LED light panel. I was talking about lights in my video, or talking about it when I was put the word lights up on my thumbnail. I had a little light box, and this was this thing right here, which is pretty bright, and I cranked that up to the same brightness as that. I cranked this softbox up to the same brightness as this was, and they're the same color temperature, so it looked like I just had a smooth light on my face, or even, and I did a little post editing and stuff like that, and that's kind of how I got that look. So the light that you use does not have to be a softbox. It can kind of be anything that you find or is laying around the house, or whatever you decide to use. So once you get that set, then you move on to something to get rid of this like harsh shadow. As you can see, there's like a dark spot in my face. You want to get rid of that, and that's what brings me, or us, to our fill light, and that's what softens that up. Now I can't see if that's too bright or dark on my face because of the can't see the back of the camera, but yeah. So that brings us to our fill light, and what the fill light does is, as you can see, it takes away that shadow and stuff on the side here. And the reason why I have 2 separate lights instead of having light directly on me is because that would give a very flat image, just a flat look. And the reason why I use 2 lights is to make one a little, like a tad darker, which might be a little bit dark. Let me bring that up a little bit more. Okay, so you make one a little bit darker. I'll just leave it there. I can't really tell what it looks like, but you make your one side a little bit darker than the other side. And the reason why is it gives a little more cinematic look, a little bit of contrast. You don't have to have that. It's just a look that a lot of people like. You probably see that a lot on YouTube and stuff. Like, again, you don't have to have it. It's not a you need this, but different lights has different moods. It sets certain stuff and different light statements, and we can talk about that later, is light angles and what they do for the video and the purpose of them. But as of right now, I'm just talking about the specific look of how I have it in here. So light pointing here, darker side on this side, the fill light. Face looks pretty good. It's like, hey, this looks pretty good, right? Pretty good video, not bad. Pretty good setup, actually. I don't think it's bad if your setup looks like this. And yeah, it's not bad at all. But why not add just a little bit more? And the key thing that people don't realize is that backlight is that little more that everybody looks for. It actually came on. This app is a little weird sometimes. Okay, so the backlight is what you would want to look at next, and that, as you can see, is lighting up my background and giving that nice purple or blue or background, whatever color I decide to make it look that I have here. So you don't have to use that one, you can use whatever it is. If you want a dark background, I would suggest putting like a lamp, candle, whatever it is back there, just to make sure. Sorry, I have to make sure I'm recording this because I don't want to have to do this all over again. But make sure that your whole background is all set and looking a little more contrasty rather than just very flat. So I would put some candles, a lamp, or something back there, just kind of spice it up. Whether it is a LED sign, or not LED, but neon sign or something like that, or whatever it is that you decide to put back there. So yeah, make it nice, make it yours. And speaking of yours, if you take this exact look, I have no problem doing that. That's why I'm making this video. So once you have those three things set, I'm going to show you some alternatives that for making these look like that. And you don't have to use a softbox. You don't have to use a ring light, which not even mine's my sister's, and you don't have to use a RGB light like I have back there. You just want to use some type of light source that's going to make it look contrasty in your face, not too much, and going to separate you from the background. When I say anything, it can literally mean anything. As you see, it had a little tiny light that I don't even know where it came from, but a little tiny light. And something that I would tell you can diffuse that light to give a softbox look is parchment paper. If you put parchment paper on top of a light, it will diffuse it, giving the same effect that a softbox does. Obviously, the specific equipment such as softbox does the job better than if you were trying to rig it up, but believe me, nobody would ever know unless you show them. So it will do an amazing job. I've used it before, nobody would ever notice. So I would definitely suggest looking into that if you don't have something like this yet, or if your light's too harsh, throw some parchment paper on there, 1, 2, 3 layers, however many you need till your light softens up, until you're just good with the look that you have. And once you have that, then you are good to go. Now, once you have that kind of set, everything where you want it, it's like, hey, I know tempting to do is just crank your lights up, crank the brightness up. More light is better because, hey, if I have more light, like I have said in a previous video with talking about my camera settings, which if you haven't seen, it's up here. I'll put a little like thing that comes out on here, whatever you call that, that you can click and watch the video about settings. But I always talk about how the camera has more light, it has more information to work with, and it looks sharper. That is true. However, in a situation like this where you have a background, foreground with multiple lights, you do not want to do that. And the reason why is because if I crank this light up too high, then the light will leak into my background and it'll blow my background out. So my background will start to lose color and it won't look very purple. It actually look white after a while. So I will be very bright. My background will be blown out. And if I crank my settings down, it will be very sharp and clear because it has a lot of light, a lot of information, but it just is blowing everything out. You know, my background's gone, everything, there's nothing there. It's just light everywhere and it's not gonna look very good. So you want it to control it. You want things to be soft and nice clean look. So what you do to control that is you go to your settings. So I have my ISO set to 400. You're gonna bring your ISO down, whether it's like 200 or 300 if your camera should be able to do one or the other, depending on what camera you have. But take your ISO down and like a stop or two, and once you have that down, you're gonna start with your background light and you're gonna adjust your background light to the specific setting. Now I say you do this if you have a small space. If you have a really big space, it's kind of the same principle, but it won't have as huge an effect because then you could just crank your lights up at that point because the softbox would be too far away from the background to affect how the background looks. So if you have a really big space, then that doesn't really matter. But if you're in a small space office, this is very important that you do this. So adjust your background first, get that to where it's just slightly darker than where you want it. So find where that sweet spot is. Like, okay, I like this light It's perfect, and you realize that the more you take it down, almost like the better it looks. So take it to where you want it. It's like, okay, this light's perfect. Drop it down like 1 or 2, like the percentage on the light, the brightness. Take it down just a little bit. Then you move on to your lights. Set your key light first, kind of get that where you want it. Once it's good, then take that down to, again, right where it's like perfect, and then dropping it down a little percentage to where you see the light drop a little bit, and then you realize that, okay, that's perfect. Then get your ring light, or in this case my ring light, but you get your fill light and use whatever it is that you have to do to fill in, whether it doesn't have to be light, it can be a reflector too, anything to just cover up some of that darkness, that shadows here. And you want to put that on your face, and then yeah, everything should be just slightly darker than what you want it to be. And then you go in your camera setting and bring that ISO up like 1 or 2 stops, and then that will look so much better, because now you have all your light as an even level playing field. I think that said that correctly. And you're gonna bring it all up together rather than trying to bring your lights individually to come up to the camera settings, and then it's gonna look just blown out. It's gonna look ridiculous. It's gonna look horrible. You're gonna be frustrated with yourself because, like, man, why can't I get this to look nice? It just doesn't work for what I'm doing. It does work. It's just the way you gotta adjust things. So you might have to play around with it a little bit to get that dialed in and figure out. It might take a little bit second, but trust me, believe me, it is possible. So kind of once you figure out what you're gonna use, mess around with it, see what you do, see what you like, and yeah, it's your stuff. Make it look how you want. Again, if you take this whole setup here, that's why I'm making this video. So hey, feel free to use it. Feel free to use anything I am in here. I'll put the link to everything that I'm using down in the description box below, so feel free to go look at those and take anything that you want out of there. I have a grid on this softbox that I want to mention, and what that is doing is directioning the light a little more towards me and not allowing light side to side, which is good because I don't want my light to go towards the background, which it is pointing towards the background a little bit. So in this case, it's not super important, but if I crank the brightness up, the more I crank it up, the more you'll have a bigger effect on the light will start to spread out sideways where you want it to go more straight. So this is good and bad. You don't always need this. You don't always want it on there. So it definitely depends on what it is that you're doing, and everything has a purpose, and its intended purpose is what you use it for. So enough rambling with my mouth. I think I said a lot. Hopefully enough, and if I said enough, hopefully I said the right stuff. So yeah, thanks for listening to that little boring speech, me rambling by my mouth of lights, and hopefully that made sense. Understand. If you have any questions, drop a comment down below. I will be reading them and I will respond to them. I'll make sure I respond to them, and I think I try to always respond to them. So hey, throw that down there. Like the video, comment. Like I just mentioned, I just said that, Tyler. I don't know, you just repeat yourself again. I don't understand myself sometimes. But smash that like button while you're at it, and turn your post notification on. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, because we got more stuff coming. We got some good stuff coming. We got a giveaway coming soon, and I want you guys thinking, hey, 40 subscribers, but hey, I gotta give you guys a thanks for subscribing. So we're gonna have something coming soon, and a video coming up soon. So some fun things coming. I know COVID's here, so there's only so much we can really do, and it's winter, snowing outside, but I'm not gonna let that stop me from being creative and having fun with what I have around me. So until we can get outside and start doing some stuff and have fun or interact with each other more often, I'm gonna sit here, and well, not just here specifically, but I'm gonna be in front of the camera and just kind of teach you guys stuff and get you as much information as you can, so that when we're out there and we're having fun and doing our stuff and have a big summer in front of us, you guys can take that stuff and make your dreams come true with the camera. And that's exactly what I want, and that's my whole intentions for doing this in the first place. So I hope you guys are learning something, and again, hit that like, and that is very important that you do that, because the more you hit it, and the more people you do it, I should say, then the more people that this video will be exposed to, and yeah, I get more views and more likes and all this stuff, all the good stuff that YouTube comes with. That was kind of cringe. I'm not doing that again. But yeah, hit that like button, subscribe, and until then, I'll see you in another video. Peace. The light that you use could be anything, and that's my whole point of bringing that up, is that, like, it doesn't have. Oops. All right, nothing broke.